Assessment. Everybody wants to know about assessment. Where do you get the marks? Well, let's go through them. The peer reviews. One team presents, another team critiques. If you Google design critique, you'll get some pretty good explanations about what a critique is. It's not simply being very hypercritical about something. It's not finding all the faults. It's actually examining something to see whether it meets its requirements, and if not, why not? And are there any weaknesses, and can it be improved? So that's the critique. So, as I say, one group will present, the other group will critique, and feed their comments in through a form. The first one is a requirements review. So, as a team, you will present your understanding of the requirements and how you've expressed them and what you've done to try and ensure that you have understood them, that you got all of them, and that they are clearly understood, and that these will enable the team to make progress on the project from here on. The second review is a design review. That is, now we've completed the design, all the elements of the design that are of major interest, and we're presenting that. And the whole idea is to determine whether those designs will support or achieve the requirements. I distinguish there because functional requirements are achieved, non-functional requirements are simply supported. Non-functional requirements are things like performance and security and testability, things like that. So that's the design review. The third review is a delivery review. Now this is quite normal in industry, that each project, that when it's been developed, there has to be some independent check that it's finished. Okay, it's just really embarrassing to go and deliver a product and have the thing fall over on the first outing because you forgot to check something or you overlooked something, and that happens time and time again. So it pays to get an independent party to go and review and critique the system before it's delivered. Midterm deliverables. At the midterm, you provide your work to your tutor for assessment. Now, the wording is specifically vague because your tutor should have been looking at your work, and you should have had it available to them all the time. So they should have been able to see it week by week, and they should have been giving you feedback on it each week. There has to be some point at which the tutor says, okay, now I'll give you an official mark. And that's the week before the midterm break. Now, whether they simply look at it online or whether you give it to them in printed form or its equivalent, doesn't matter, as long as the tutor has the material that they need in order to assess what you've done. And for the midterm, they will assess your work planning, so essentially your project planning, and your work management. That is, you've gone through, by now it should have been at least one iteration to deliver something. Not much of something, but you've gone through one iteration of work, one sprint. And the tutor will examine that or assess that to see how well you've done it and whether you've decided to improve it or not. Anyway, so they'll assess that. And beyond that, more formally, and the usual thing that comes out of software development is the requirements, the architecture, the data management, and the user interface, user experience, those designs. That is worth 25 marks just by the magic of arithmetic. And that's in the midterm. Okay. At the end of term, the tutor will assess all of your work. That is, they again review the things you did by midterm, because you may have changed it based on their feedback and based on things you've discovered later in the project. So there is the provision to go back and reassess them. As well, the tutor will assess your software construction. your testing and your documentation. Now the purpose of each of these is explained during the subject, but essentially it's not simply have you tested it. There's a bit more to it than that. You have to have a test strategy, a test plan, and you have to have your defects under control and show that you actually know what you're doing about testing. And similarly, documentation is the support documentation for all of the people who are going to be inheriting this system. That is the users, the installers, and the maintainers. Now that assessment is worth 35 marks. It's worth more than it was in the middle of the semester because you've been learning what to do as you go along, and by the end of the semester the quality of work is likely to be better, and so you should get more credit for it because you've understood more what you're doing. And as well, it includes any revisions you made to the earlier work. The delivered system itself gets assessed. Now it gets assessed, I make up a test specification based on the formal requirements I've given you. So there's no surprises. It's not as if I suddenly come out with some test spec and say, oh, here, we'll spring the surprise on you. No, it's based on the requirements. And it's published and available, I think at least 2 weeks before the testing is actually done. Now, your tutor will go through and test against that test specification, and that will give you about just a bit over half of the marks for this particular period. Then the tutor will assess the qualities of the system, the qualities like usability and robustness and performance and things like that, as well as their assessment of its general excellence. Now I can't give you a definitive answer about what general excellence is. All I can say is that these are industry experienced people, and they know good stuff when they see it, so they will give you marks for that. Now that assessment is worth 20 marks.